Hello, wherever you are across the continent, you definitely don't want to miss out on all the action and coming to you live from Kwesé Sports. First Ashes test done, Mike Proctor.
Yep, a lot of hype about this Ashes series, more hype than anyone's ever imagined. But Australia came out on top, played really well when it counted. England started off in an emphatic fashion, really, 250 odd for 4, having won the toss, and things were looking really rosy. But from there in, they lost their next 6 wickets for 50 odd runs. Then they had Australia 70 odd for 4, and things looking good. Then 200 for 7, and then that partnership, first of all between Marsh and Steve Smith, and then Pat Cummins and Steve Smith, really turned the screws for Australia, and an emphatic victory.
A lot of talk aired on the sidelines, certainly in the build-up to the Ashes series, but when it came down to the real stuff, it was all Australia.
For most of the game, yes, you would say more Australia, probably 90% or 80% if you want to look at it that way. There were areas where England were good. They just didn't make it count. They had so many starts in that particular test match there, and no one really went on to get a big 100. There were match-turning points. That 100, obviously, we can't continue to talk about it anymore because it was fantastic. But I think for England, they have to look back at this and think about the opportunities they missed. And also, someone needs to get a big 100. And that opening pair as well. You look at Warner now and Bancroft, they got an excellent 100-run partnership, and that sort of gels them together in the foundation. But now, can England do the same? Can Cook sort of find some form? He's been under pressure, and give that foundation for that middle order and the likes of Ali and Bairstow, if he plays, to be positive down the order.
Now, do they have the pace attack, or do they have the bowling attack to deal with the Aussies? They
certainly do in Adelaide, because Anderson and Broad, who've done so well for England over many years, are their two frontline bowlers. They both swing the ball a little bit. They get seam movement, whereas Woakes and Ball were a little bit disappointing. Maybe the personnel might change for England in that department, but certainly England will be looking at Anderson and Broad to really make inroads into that Australian batting lineup. And as I said, it will give them a little bit of confidence, knowing that the conditions will suit them. But having said that, the conditions suited them in the first couple of days in Brisbane, and they didn't take advantage.
The Aussies are one up, Ed. Your predictions for the remainder of the series?
I think Australia will win it minimum 3-1. I think in Adelaide it's going to be a wicket or conditions that suit England, but they've got to get the personnel right, and they have to have their main players to stand up. And I think England play the swinging ball better than Australia do, and that goes back to when they played in England in Nottingham, when they were bowled out very cheaply before lunch. So in that respect, England need to have confidence going into that and try and level the series. When you go to Perth, all of a sudden the ball starts bouncing around your neck again, and then you're in a difficult position. And then Melbourne, 100,000 people on Boxing Day shouting and screaming, and then the English are under pressure. So it's all Australia at this point, but can England bounce back?
Mike Proctor, your thoughts as this series unfolds?
Well, I think a lot depends on Adelaide. They've got to take advantage of the conditions in Adelaide, and they've got to really. I know you can't say it up front if you're a captain. We must win this Test match. You take it ball by ball, session by session, day by day. But it's a Test match they must win, because if they don't, Australia will have the momentum. They'll have the crowd roaring behind them, and it'll be a long, tough tour if they don't win in Adelaide. But as Joe Root says, this team has got character. We're going to find out.
Ed, very quickly, match winners for you potentially for Adelaide?
Steve Smith has got to be up there. Mitchell Starc, he'll try and swing the ball at a great deal of pace. For England, it's got to be Root and Cook. For me, with the ball, it'll always be Anderson and Broad. And so it'll be about those X factors that'll come into that particular game and put their hand up and get either side over the line.
And for you, Brookie?
Yeah, much for muchness. I think it's the seasoned players, the ones that have performed in the past, the experienced players. And the experience always comes through when you're playing in the Ashes series. So it'll be the old guns to really play well.
Well, every day of the Ashes, we'll be with you. Remember to join us here on Kwesé Sports. So from me, Hugo de Batika, and my team, stay tuned.